Hi, welcome to a new video on the targeted individual experience, the targeted individual program. Um, I want to touch on again mind control, okay, coercive mind control tactics, and how it is being used to convince, deceive, manipulate people into engaging in what is basically torture. Okay, psychological torture is just as harmful or even more harmful than physical torture. Okay, because it encompasses verbal abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse, sexual abuse. It encompasses the violation of an individual privacy, an individual sanctity of life, an individual minds, an individual body. It violates an individual's basic and I shouldn't say basic, but I'm just going to say human rights, as well as those of us living in the United States, our constitutional rights, our Bill of Rights, and you know our ability to feel emotions that are natural, okay, not unnatural like what they do to us, targeted individuals. The manipulation of our emotions, the control of our emotions, the control of our actions, our thought, and our ability to think in a logical, realistic manner. So there is an article. This is in the Washington Post. It was written June 6, I believe, 1980. Okay, and it has to do with the Iranian terrorists that stormed the American embassy in Tehran. Okay, and this writer of this article have come to believe that the hostages were mind controlled. Okay, and I'm not going to read the entire article, but I do want to share this with you. Okay, so it says here, the evidence has convinced me that the hostages are victims of mind control. I believe they have been brainwashed. A better term coined by Flo Conway and Jim Siegelman, author of the book Snapping, is information disease. The classic conditions for achieving mind control are present: isolation, fear, sleep deprivation, diet manipulation, and control of all information. Now, doesn't that sound familiar if you were a TI? Have you experienced isolation? The fear, the sleep deprivation involving noise campaigns, the diet manipulation, okay, trying to make you eat unhealthy, or trying to not make you eat at all, as if to confirm some form of wrongdoing or guilt, and the control of all information. Like when you go online to search to see if anybody is going through what you're going through, you would be blocked from certain sites, so you may experience what is called denial of service or DNS attacks. Okay, or if you go onto a website, you might hear police sirens in the background immediately as you go to that web page. So all these things, right, has been done to us as TIs, and this is not new. And this is what I want target individuals to understand. When targets say, "Well, this is from the Obama administration," it's not true. Okay, I myself became a target during probably the ending of the Clinton administration to the Bush administration. My twin brother has been a target the mid 90s during the Clinton administration. And there are others who've been target under Bush Sr. and Reagan. Okay? So, when I hear T.I. talk about Obama and this and that, and I'm sorry to say this, but, most of the targeted individuals who blame Obama are Caucasian, right? And we in America, hey, race is everything. So I'm not going to sidestep racial issues. And so if you are uncomfortable with this, then you can stop the video and not watch it. But I'm not here to be politically correct. I'm here to tell the truth. Okay? And if the truth makes you uncomfortable, especially if you're a TI, okay, you want the truth to come out, what's being done to you. So if truth makes you uncomfortable, then maybe you don't deserve your truth to come out, okay? Because you can't want truth for yourself and not for everybody else, okay? So this article was in the 80s, 1980, like I said, and this writer, basically saying that, a lot of these victims were mind control. Okay? They were mind control. Okay? It says the hostages are kept apart, like what they do to us as TIs. You will never find multiple TIs in one area. Okay? You will find multiple TIs spread out over a town, over a city, and I'm talking about far. Okay, and so again, it's to separate TIs from coming together. Okay, so this is it's all classic here. This is not new. Okay, so the hostages are kept apart, have been and still are bound and are prevented from communicating with each other and the outside world. The principal contact is their captors. So you can think of this as your handlers would be like your captors, right? But there's multi-level, because your handlers are there to prevent you from talking to other TIs, from doing research. They'll tell you, oh, ignore it, or they'll tell you, oh, there's nothing going on, or what have you. It's to keep you from wanting to find out the truth, right? Okay, so then you talk about love bombing, meaning your captors truly love you and the American people. So in your targeting, and because this is trauma-based mind control, they have to introduce someone, whether imaginary or not, as being your friend. Okay, and this is all in your mind, in your subconscious, right? So they may do a certain hand signal, and maybe the word friend will pop into your mind, okay? Or maybe you have a positive feeling, you feel good, right, when you see a certain hand signal that they do, okay? So you have to understand this, all right? I know that these people are not your friend, okay? You're the perpetrators, the architect of these programs. They are not your friend. This is strictly what they're doing to you is experiment on you, okay? Non-consensual human experimentation, okay? And they're created ways in which to try to silence you, right? And so whether it be promising you, psychologically giving you ideas that they're going to give you money, or they're going to give you a wife, a husband, or they're going to give you as much women as you want, or as much men as you want. There's always a reward, okay, for doing what they want you to do, okay? It's something that is called reward and punishment, because if you don't do what they want you to do, they will punish you. They will blitz you with a psychological operation or street theater, noise campaign, heavy dose of noise campaign. Okay, they might poison your food if you go out to eat. There's a whole host. They'll threaten your children if you have young children, or if you have adult children, they will prevent them from getting work or finding jobs. Okay, and so these are the tactics and the things that they do. But again, this article, I think UTIs should read it. Okay, and this is strictly for the understanding of how these architects of these programs, excuse me, and those people who participate, whether it be law enforcement officers, your neighbors, your family members, and how they too are being mind controlled or manipulated. Okay, and so you have to understand that. Now, trauma-based mind control, okay, is a excuse me. Okay, so I had to step away for a couple of minutes. My son, my eldest, came down, and he's spending a couple of days over at my house, so I had to give him my keys. As you can see, I'm not at my house. I'm over by Pam. He just got here not too long ago. All right, so anyway, as I was saying, trauma-based mind control is what they do to us as TIs, breaking our psyche in order to now come and easily, okay, create whatever personality they want to create. All right. On top of that, okay, there may have been an incident. If you're a TI, if you can remember, you might be at someone's house, or someone came over to your house. Could be, a girlfriend, guy friend, that you have a platonic relationship or a sexual relationship, or something may have happened. You've been arrested. You might spend a night in jail, and you may wake up the next day feeling strange. Okay, and you may feel like you have been injected with something. Okay, and because I hear this story from TIs all the time. Okay, including my own story. Okay, in which I felt that I was injected with a drug. Okay, possibly to make it easier to break my psychological state. Okay, and on top of that, I was also implanted at that exact same time. So then after that, I started to experience heavy noise campaign with fire trucks, synchronization, heavy synchronization with fire trucks, police. They used to stage people getting arrested in front of me when I'm going to work, coming back from work. Seeing and hearing fire trucks at least 6 to 8 times a day, through my travels back and forth to work, going out to lunch, coming back from lunch, fire trucks. It was a bit much that I've never experienced before. And months, years, that still continue. I remember when I first felt that I was implanted and also drugged. Okay, 6 months after that, I had a psychological breakdown. Okay, because I was being job mobbed. Okay, heavy job mobbing at work. And I remember going on my computer. They used to give me jobs to do. Going on my computer, putting in the job number, and on the servers. Okay, and I would see folders with names of women that I have dated, that I have been with, on these folders, and they started freaking me out. And then when I would leave work at night, immediately, it didn't matter which side of the building, because there was the the workplace was pretty big. It was like a block long, but it was kind of like in the towards the end of one block, and so you could walk from one street to the other side to the other street, right? Just from walking across the building or the floor, okay? And so it didn't matter what side I would come out of. Immediately as I exit out the building, there would be a car, all right, and it didn't matter which direction I turn, okay, because I can turn left or right depending on what train I wanted to take home or where I wanted to go. And immediately there would be parked cars, and you will they will use their keys to uh, flash their lights. So you have a remote control key that opens and closes your door, and when you press that, your tail lights, they would light up briefly. Okay, so that what was happening to me, every single night. Okay, and it was usually just like a orange or yellow light, basically the yellow light. And I remember, like not wanting to leave the job because of that was happening to me every single night, and it was scaring the shit out of me. Sorry for cursing, but when you don't know what's being done to you, it really is a nightmare. And I remember, also, they used to involve skinheads earlier on in my targeting. They would have one or two skinheads um, at the end of the block, so when I was walking to, and then they would just like lean up on the wall or something like that when I'm walking towards them, and I just as about to approach them, they would get off the wall and walk slowly in front of me. Okay, and it got so bad that I had to ask a coworker to walk me to the train station one night, because he looked at me and he was like, "Man, you don't look good." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't feel good either." And I think that was that exact day that I had that psychological breakdown, because he walked me to the train station to make sure that I was okay. I got on the train, and I remember just burying my face in a book that I was reading. I didn't want people looking at me, um, because I think at that point in my mind, because of the remote neural monitoring, and they were always watching me, and so one of the things that they do also when you're in this program in the beginning to help break your psyche is that you will constantly hear two songs playing, okay, and those two songs are the songs that they use. One was by the Police, "I'll Be Watching You," and then the one was by Maxwell. What's his name? Maxwell. I forgot what his name is. And Michael Jackson. I always feel like somebody's watching me. So those two songs was on constant repeat. So I would hear those songs over and over and over and over again. Okay. And yeah, like I said, that night he walked me to the train station, my coworker, and I went home, and I didn't go back to work the next morning. I stayed home. I didn't call out anything like that. My mother came over, and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I started telling her all the things that was happening to me, and she took me to the hospital. Okay, and explaining to the psychiatrist at the hospital what was happening to me with the noise campaign. I feel like my thoughts are being read and my actions are being controlled. um, he looked at me, he listened to what I had to say, and he asked me a couple questions, like, do I feel like harming myself, do I feel like harming other people, and stuff like that. And I was like, no, no, no. And he just like, well, we're not going to admit you, we're just going to give you a prescription, and we recommend that you see a therapist, right? So that was that. Then after that, I went to the police station. It was the 71st precinct police station, And I approached the desk, told the officer behind the desk what was happening to me, and how do I go about filing a complaint or to see if I'm on the investigation because I'm being harassed by the police. And he told me basically that I have a psychological problem and I should go see a therapist. Okay. Now, as TIs, those of us who went to police to ask for help, that is the classic line that they'll tell you, right? And the reason being because they know that they are involved. They know that they participate in the slander, the noise campaign, the intimidation, um, against you, and so they will not help you at all. Okay, because you will be asking them to basically investigate themselves, and they're not going to do that. So it's easiest for them to tell you that you need to go see a psychiatrist, right? And so yeah, so that was happening to me. The trauma that I experienced, with my friends during that time, going out on dates, having like I remember like almost every date that I went on during the early years of my targeting, um, they would whenever I go to meet my dates, they would have a piece of paper, sometimes 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, standing there like this. See how I use my middle finger? So they would hold the paper with their middle finger, and I'm not trying to target anybody, so please understand that if you're a TI, I'm just trying to show what they have done and what they continue to do to TIs. So, the dates would basically have a piece of paper do this, either be, like I said, 11.5 sheet of paper, right, which is, printing paper, or it would be folded, okay, it would be folded, okay, and then they would do the same thing, which is this, okay. And so again, when you start to see this, and it's repeated, but you don't know you're being conditioned, you have no idea, that you are being psychologically manipulated and psychologically brainwashed, okay. But you do pick up on patterns, and because patterns are things that repeats itself, so you do pick up on that. And so, for example, again, going out on dates, not also with them holding a white sheet of paper with the middle finger, on the side of the paper that faces me, but you'll start to see, especially with women, they're constantly touching their hair, playing with their hair, feeling on their boobs, sticking their hands in their ears, and basically will bring up conversations to talk about things that you had talked about with somebody else in the past, or maybe the prior night, a couple days ago. And you start to feel uncomfortable because you're saying to yourself, well, how do they know this information, right? And because they've tapped your phone, whether it be your landline or your cell phone, and in most cases it's both, if you have both. Because I remember also early on in my targeting, the Verizon workers, they were in the basement of my building, almost for like a whole week and a half. And every time I would leave to go to work, not only will I see a fire truck passing by with the sirens blazing really, really loud, but the Verizon workers will come out of the basement at that exact moment. Okay, so this is what they've done, and years and years and years they continue to do this. You continue to go through the trauma, the psychological torture, so you begin to isolate yourself. You don't want to talk on the phone, you don't want to go out, and for me it was difficult, because I was constantly fighting back and forth, because I had a young child, and I was going to court for joint custody as well as child support, and I had a criminal case that was going on because they had used my son's mother to file harassment, stalking charges on me, simply because she had sent my son with her mother outside of the U.S. and didn't notify me. She didn't get my permission. And if I wanted to, I could have had kidnapping charges filed against her. But, that's not me. I just wanted to know that my son was safe, and she wouldn't tell me where he is. And so when I went to talk to her, she called the police. And again, the police are involved. So basically, the police coerce her or engage in a plot against me to have me arrested so that I would give up the custody case in family court. So that's what happened. So that's why when I was arrested, they chipped me to surveil me, and they drugged me, okay, to psychologically break my mind state, okay. And this happened in the police precinct, in the, I remember what precinct it is in the Bronx, but it's the stop after 161st Street, Yankee Stadium. I think it's 145th. No, it's not 160. 170th, because below that train station there's a police station there. So that was where I was, basically chipped, drugged, okay, with a substance to make it easier to break my psyche, and chip so I can be remotely neuromonitored. Okay, so this is what they did to me, and they continue to do it years and years, even today. And you see these videos that I do. So you lose your friends, your family members target you because you're being microwaved with microwave signals that's on the same brainwave frequency as the human brain. So they're engaged in synchronization. Now some family members may know what's going on, others don't know, because I've seen them, basically microwave my kids and I, okay, and had my kids target me, okay. And I always, like, they have to create a narrative, right, in order for them to try and get away with what they're doing. So to try to make you look like a violent person, try to make you look like a pedophile, try to make you look like a rapist or some shit like that. These things are all orchestrated, they're planned, and you're manipulated, you're brainwashed. And some people actually, because of what's being done to them, they have either committed such crimes or was about to, and maybe catch themselves and say, hey, no, this is not me, what's going on here. So as a target, you have to be very aware. And we see a lot of these instances where men are being charged with sexual assault and all that stuff. What people have to understand, especially within the black community, that there is a program to destroy black men in the black community, okay, and to divide black men from black women. I'm not excusing any bad behavior that an individual may do to someone, okay. What I'm saying is that some of these people are mind control victims. They've been manipulated, especially when it comes to when there's drugs involved, and all that stuff, okay. So you have to be aware of that, and I guess you gotta look at it case by case basis by talking to the individual and stuff like that. Because even now in my targeting, recently they started using teenagers again, okay. They started using teenagers again, and then even younger grade school girls in my targeting. But again, from my experience, I know what it is that they're trying to do. It's not going to work, because first of all, it's not me, and there's too much information out there. So if you're a TI and you research it, you'll understand exactly what to look out for and how to sidestep those traps that they try to lay you, because you don't even know it, but you're being manipulated, okay. Look up silent sound spectrum, okay. It is a mind control technology, and what it does is that it programs your subconscious, so they can program you any which way they want, and it can happen when you're sleeping through your subconscious, or when you're awake through your conscious state, because you're hearing a thought with your own inner voice that is not your thought. Okay, so you have to understand that. All right. So let me get to the video, and again, because this is this continuing uh, program, the continued harassment, the continued manipulation in what they're doing. Okay, so this was last week, Thursday, the um, the 18th. Okay, this was I was going to pick up my kids from school. They have an after school program, and this is about 5:30 or so. I'm walking to the school, and I've noticed for the past couple days, 3 days actually, that every time I go to pick up my kids, I will see this guy here with his kid in a wheelchair, right? And so at this point, I was like, okay, I started to recognize the pattern, the repeated things that keep happening, okay? And so at this point, I decided, you know what? I need to record this.
Third day in a row. Every time I go pick up this kid, this guy standing out here. There's these two. So that's why I'm videotaping it, because then they're using him now.
Okay, and you see, she gives him change, right? She had change in her hand that she was giving to him, and this is important, okay, because when they want to send you subliminal message, when they run a script of you being homeless, you'll start to see a lot of homeless people. When they want to run the script of trying to take away my disability, you'll see that every time I go to the bank, there'll be people standing in the bank, even though there's a bus stop there, right? But the bus hasn't come yet, so obviously you've been standing there for a while. You have your whether they're going to use a Metro card or not, but the most part they'll use the change, right? And you will see them start counting the change when you're walking towards them. Now, like I said, the bus hasn't been there yet, and you could tell that they've been waiting for the bus for a few minutes now. They didn't just get there and decided, okay, let me see how much change I have so I can pay for the bus. Again, and they will be standing aside the bank in which my direct deposit get deposit in. So they'll do stuff like that. And also when they trying to cause a rift between me and Pam, I'll see a lot of women who will walk in front of me and take their hands, the palm of their hands, place it behind their back, or they're walking in front of me with their palm of their hand waving, swinging back and forth. Okay, which is odd because as a human being, when you put your hands straight down, your palms are to the side, facing your body. It is your palms are not face backwards. Okay, because you would have to basically turn your hands backwards and swing, and this is a very, very unnatural motion, and you can try. So when I start to see that, I know it's purposely done. Okay, this is purposely being done. And so you get to pick up on these things because if you study what it is that they're doing to you, you can see the pattern, right? And understanding what it is that they're trying to do, what type of subliminal message they're trying to convey. Sometimes you might get it, and other times you may not even get whatever subliminal message they may try to send you. But it is important that you do recognize and understand these things, because it is the only way that you're going to develop defense mechanism, okay, to combat these things. And that's what I do, and that's how when I go outside, I'm able to go pick up my kids, and because I use those same tactics they use on me, I use it against them. Okay, the exact same thing. And so, like I just said, it just the past couple of days, this guy has been out there with his son in a wheelchair, and I started picking up on the pattern. Okay, so I started recording. Okay, and it's just yeah, I gotta shake my head on that one because it's ridiculous. So let's see here. Let's see if there's anything that I forgot. Okay, no. No. Okay. Let's go to the next video. So this is the same Thursday. I picked up the kids, and I'm walking back, and I see this woman with this young girl just standing there, right? And you know, she has a book in her hand. All of a sudden, they're just standing there reading a book. Like, really? You know what I'm saying? Like, who does that? Okay, you have every opportunity to go on your way. You know, if it's your daughter, you go to your house, you can read the book to her in her house. But you decide to stand in the street corner knowing that I'm going to be coming in that direction and waiting for me. Okay?
I don't know.
That's on the tag, but
Okay?
why
Now, as
the
I get closer, she's going to start talking. She wasn't talking before.
Do this. Come
Come on, let's go. Come on.
She starts reading.
You know what they had said?
Okay? Now, like I said, when I was walking, they were just staring at the book. Immediately as I got close, all of a sudden now she starts having a conversation. I'll start reading. Usually when this happens, there's like a subliminal message hidden there in what they were saying. Whatever the subliminal message is, I don't know. I didn't, like I said, sometimes my defense mechanism will kick in automatically. Other times I have to force do it, like repeat certain things over and over and over. So that whatever that was, it didn't have no effect on me. Now, I want you to look at this vehicle right here, okay? Now, I'm walking with my kids.
Come on.
Okay? The light changes, he's going.
Yo!
Okay, the audio is out of sync because okay.
Yo! Hey! Yo!
So he drives off, right? It was his light. He drives off. He stops as we were walking across the street, okay? And I started cursing him, so I'm not gonna play it, but my kids are walking. Now, they've done this other times before, and I literally almost beat the crap out of this one person, okay, because he came this close to hitting my kids. But this is the things that they'll do. So in videos years ago that I did, I talked about how when me and my son Bryce used to go to the movie theater, that people would be running and they be coming from behind us and they will bump into him, almost knocking him down, turn around, say sorry, and keep running. Okay, so this is what these people do, right? And they try to hide their physical assault as it being some sort of accident. They used to do the same to me. They will run towards me, bump me, and then tell me sorry until I said okay. So the next person that bumped into me, I stiffened my shoulder, and I, and his ass almost fell to the ground. And from that day, they stopped doing that. Okay, so as I bumped him, I said to him, I said, "Oh, sorry, I'm sorry." So so there's this guy, right? Reversed all the way back, almost hit us. That I had to start yelling at him and be like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And I use some four-letter language that I'm not going to let you hear. But yeah, I was cursing, right? And so again, this was Thursday, right? So we got to the house, and then Friday morning, I'm taking the kids to school, and I noticed there's a teenager that was standing at the corner, and he was standing there.
Teenagers this morning to talk.
Right. So
see what they're doing now. They have
here he is. You see the side of the building. If you look to your where I turn the camera,
kid, he should be going to school.
You see him there?
He's at the corner hanging out, targeting me.
And as I turn the camera towards him, he walks off.
Point the camera at him.
Right.
So now
out of range.
I guess it'll be a lot.
And as I drive off, he leaves. Okay. So let me get to another point of here.
I can do it.
Okay. Right. So you see how they use these young kids to target me. So this girl coming up here, she's sticking her finger in her ears, and then as you see, and again, I'm not trying to target anybody, but she starts playing with her hair, and she'll do the, and you gotta excuse the the color. Not trying to target you. I wear this to target the perps. Hope you guys will understand this. And so again, so now she's going to do the hand signal I talk about with them. When they see me, sometimes they'll do this with their hands behind their head. Especially with women, they'll flick their hair to the front as they do that. It is all to mask the targeting from other people from seeing exactly what it is that they're doing, right? Or to try to mask it in such a way that you won't retaliate, meaning that you won't do that hand signals back to them, which is what I do, okay? So they'll try to get away with it in that way, okay?
Okay.
And it's so fake, you can see it, it's so artificial. Okay, there was a kid that was walking up. Let me see if okay, I think I missed it. Okay, it's too far back.
John, who gave us the tickets?
I'm trying to get to that point. Where is he? Okay. You know what? I'm gonna let it play. I'm gonna let it play, and I'm just gonna narrate. To hear me talk about the young girl doing the hand signal, doing this. Okay. And again, these are all things that interesting because these are all things that have been put into your subconscious. Okay, so now when you see certain things being done, hand signals, what have you, you get what is called, uh, an anchor. So the anchor is that emotion, that negative thought, that negative emotion to the trigger. The trigger is the hand signal, or it could be anything. It could be a color that can trigger you. It could be certain words, people, places. They can attach a negative attachment to anything. All right, and particularly if they've manipulated you in the past to say something or do something, they will constantly use that, okay, against you. And so you'll see this kid walking up here, and again, now you try doing that. Try doing that. Okay, that is not a natural thing that you would do normally. Okay, it takes too much face muscle because when you do it, you can feel the tension. Okay, you can feel that tension on your lip. So this is not a natural thing. If he was an old man with no teeth in his mouth, yeah, I can understand that. But the majority of times I show you people do this, they're young women, middle-aged women, young kids. You rarely see older folks, even though they do it because they have they have teeth in their mouth. But I'm saying that usually when older people, you'll see that mostly in older people who have no teeth in their mouth. Okay, their lip naturally falls in. But again, if you do this yourself, you'll see this is a purposely done, an orchestrated thing. Okay. All right. So let's get to the next video. All right. And I'm trying to do this in such a way. So I have to go wait for Pam to take her to work, come back, and get parking. All right. So I got parking. I'm waiting till at certain times because I can't leave else I get a ticket, so I have to wait until that certain hour comes, and then I can leave, right? So
That's FanDuel.com/NJ.
let's so say he walks by, but he bows his head. Where is he again? Let's go back to where he walks by. Okay. Alright. Okay, I'm trying to find that part again where he walks by. Okay, here he is. There you go. I know I need a scroll wheel to operate these video footage because it's kind of hard just dragging a slider back and forth because you tend to either go too far forward or too far backwards. Okay, so you'll see him come out of here. Okay, he has his phone in his hand. He's gonna look at me. Okay, puts his phone away. Okay, as he approaches me, he's gonna bow his head. I guess they must feel ashamed, right? But if you feel ashamed, why do you keep continuously doing what you're doing? The psychological harassment, psychological torture, right? Why do you continue to do that? But again, this is something that these people do. All right, so let's skip forward. Okay, and you see this guy does the same thing. Now he came out of that same house, which is right here. Okay, did I? That's okay. All right. Oh no, he didn't. He didn't come out of the same uh, house. I thought he did. All right. So, but you'll see as he gets close, he's gonna bow his head. See, he's walking. There you go. See? You pick his head up. He did it again. And from time to time, they'll do that, And usually when they do that, I'll just say, "Yeah, that's right." In my mind, bow to the king. Okay, that's what I say. So whatever negative, uh, attachment to that signal, the bowing of the head, I just said bow to the king. And now that I say that, they're probably not gonna bow when they walk towards me again, but that's okay. So yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next video. Um, okay. All right. So again, that was Friday, right? That I just showed you taking the kids to school and stuff like that. And so Friday night, it was parents' birthday, and we decided that we're just gonna stay and watch a movie and order some Chinese. 'Cause I guess she didn't really want to go. She was tired and what have you. So I fine. So around I would say eight, 8 going on a little after 8:30, I began to have that feeling again that we were being microwaved. Okay, so I talk about the synchronization, and so every time I would turn to look at her, she kept doing these hand signals, and then she says to me, "Hey Nigel, why don't you go play the lottery? It's $1 billion." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you know what? I wanted to play it earlier. I don't know why I didn't go." But I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go." So went, got dressed, okay, and I said to myself, "Yeah, we're being microwave, and she's being instructed to tell me to go play the lotto." And so, because I wasn't even thinking about that, and she wasn't even thinking about that until I started to hear the police sirens, and all of a sudden she suggested that I go play the lotto. So, which I did. I went outside, and as I had to take something down to the basement, and I didn't come out through the front door. I came out through the side door, and they had an older woman waiting for me. Okay, but when I didn't come out through the front door, she came to the side door, and I'm like, well, how did she know I came out through the side door? Again, mind control technology, and you're being surveilled. Okay, they know your location, your positioning, so they're gonna instruct them to go exactly where you're going. It's kind of like you're like a magnet. Okay, once they see you, they're attracted to you, and it's not in a good way. Okay, they start to crowd you and stuff like that, or follow you. So I just turned my back towards her, and I started walking. But I took my phone out and I started recording. And you'll see that I turned the camera to this vehicle. There were two guys sitting in this vehicle, okay? And they were about to open up their door to come out. But when I turned the camera in towards them, they got back into their seat, okay? And you hear he beep his horn. So then I
I was
saw
in the house,
flashing lights.
and they put the idea in Pam's head to.
Yeah, I was just narrating, but I'm going to narrate it through the mic here. So I just explaining through the video what they did, and so as you can see,
Through the side door.
flashing lights.
They had a purple.
Okay,
Downstairs.
and as I approach the corner,
So she didn't see me coming out of the front.
and I want you guys to hear this because
Came to the side.
you understand
where
the
I
noise
was.
campaign that goes on.
And see, here you go. See the police? That's why
Yeah, it's a synchronization.
she had me go to the store. Well, not had me, but she was telling me about going to the store because they have this whole thing set up here. See, now here's the fire truck.
Okay, again, the police, fire truck, ambulance, they're all at play here. This is me walking to the corner. There's the police vehicle. Again, another police vehicle. You saw one before, it's the second one. When I talk about synchronization, this is what I talk about. When I go somewhere, if I get to the corner or I'm exiting my building, immediately there'll be a police vehicle, fire truck, ambulance passing by, and it happens so frequently that it's it's not coincidental. Okay, because if you look up what coincidental mean, it means there isn't a repeated pattern when it comes to coincidence, just as there isn't a repeated pattern when it comes to emergencies. So for example, let's say I get up in the morning at 7 o'clock. Within a minute or two, I'll start hearing sirens. Now mind you, like I may have been up half an hour early, but I'm just laying down, okay? And just to see if I'm going to hear any sirens, if I'm being remotely monitored. But the minute I get up out of bed, okay, go to the bathroom to brush my teeth, or to go put the kettle on in the kitchen to make the kids breakfast, I'll start hearing sirens and car honking all of a sudden. So I'm just like, so what happened to that half an hour prior to me getting up? There was no noise. And all of a sudden I'm up. There's all these noise. So again, you're being surveilled. Your brainwave signals are being monitored to see if you come into conscious state. Okay, and then they start with the noise campaign. Okay, so I just had to turn just to film what was happening there, and now I had to go to the bank just to take out some money. Okay, and there was one part here which I was talking about. So you see this guy here, now he sees me, he stands up on the wall by the bank, he puts his hands like this, okay, and you'll see as right, so you will see as I approach, he starts counting the change in his hands. Okay, now like I said, you see him standing there, he's been standing there for a while. Okay, he sees me approaching, he goes like this. I get closer to the bank, all of a sudden he wants to start counting change. Now, you know, it kind of makes you wonder if he's waiting for the bus or if he's there just to target me. And usually this is how they send me subliminal message about them constantly trying to take away my disability, and so that I wouldn't have any money. And that's, you know, exactly what goes on in a coercive persuasion program, right? This is some of the tactics that they do in a coercive persuasion program. And so let me get to here, coercive persuasion program. Let's talk about the intimidation tactics. So to intimidate an individual, okay, with the force of group sanctioned secular psychological threats. For example, it may be suggested or implied that failure to adopt the approved attitude, belief, or consequent behavior will lead to severe punishment, which they try to use the police to intimidate me. Usually when they approach me, if they're on foot, immediately they put their hands on their weapon as they walk past me, or they'll follow me home, you know, sometimes 15-20 blocks until I get to my block and get parking. Then they'll drive by slowly, okay, as I am getting out of the vehicle. Okay, so severe punishment or dire consequences such as a physical or mental illness, the reappearance of a prior physical illness, drug dependence, economic collapse, social failure, divorce, disintegration, failure to find a mate, etc. And there are more to this, right? So, you know, depending on how they are targeting you, they will cater certain intimidation tactics towards you. For me, it is most of these things except for drug dependency, and divorce, because I'm not married. You know, even though they do try to cause a rift between the kid's mother and I, and they do this constantly with the technology, the mind control technology. Cause they mind control put thoughts into her mind to say to me that's just really off the wall, offbeat, strange, you know, that sort of stuff, and also to emotionally manipulate both of us, you know, and you know, like sending friends from her past to friend her on Facebook. I'm sorry, not Facebook, on Facebook, and you know, when that happens, she starts acting really, really strange, you know. And again, you start to recognize these patterns, right? You start to recognize the behavior. So I start to recognize the behavior, and you know, either I'll confront her, or I just say, okay, all right, this is how you want to do this. Even though I know she's being manipulated, but I've talked to her enough so that she knows that sometimes they'll send, a lot of times, or most of the times, they'll send people to try to break up TIs who are in relationship, because they're listening to your conversation, also your rights are being violated, your privacy being violated, in order to manipulate you to break up with your significant other who happens to be a targeted individual. So there was, if you're a guy, there was some women, you know, who will come and they'll smile at you and try to be friendly with you, and then you introduce yourself, and you're like, oh wow, we have so much in common. This is what you call a reproach, which is what you call building uh, a profile and giving that information to someone who they can use as a honey trap. Okay, same thing for uh, women TIs who are involved. They will send other women to your significant other to do the same thing. All right, it's they love to use honey traps. Okay, so you got to understand this. All right, so let me get back to the video, and I hope I'm explaining this in a way that you guys can understand and maybe see a correlation with what's being done to you in this program. Okay, and I know that everything that they do to me, they're going to do to you, because but 90% of the psychological tactics are the same. So they'll do it to you, me. It is all the same. The technique, the tactics are all the same. Okay, the process are all the same. It may differ because you and I are different people, and we have different. We're in a different environment. There are different people around us, so they're gonna cater certain aspect of your target into each individual. Okay. All right. So anyway, I think that was the video I played. Okay. So here. So now I am leaving. I think this footage is for me leaving the bank. Yes, this is me leaving the bank. Okay. And so at this point now, they know that I'm recording. The guy that was standing there, he's no longer there. He's gone. And so now I am heading to go buy the lottery ticket. And so let me. So with that noise you just hear, that's me targeting a perp, because sometimes they'll walk past me and they'll do that sound what like a horse would make, right? And again, it's because they're trying to insinuate, hey, you talk too much. No, yeah, I talk too much because I'm exposing what it is that you're doing. That's the reason why. They will do every and anything to silence you, and you have to understand it as a TI. The one thing that these people don't want happen is for them to become exposed. Okay, is to expose them, right? That they come into the limelight, because they have us as TI in the limelight. We're kind of like stars, right? But we're not paid millions of dollars for our work or what have you, but we're kind of like celebrities, and not celebrities in a good way. Okay, meaning that our face are ingrained into people's mind with the idea or the thought that they need to do this to us for whatever reason. Okay. All right. So let's.
Nah, not niggas, but I need.
Okay. Now, you just hear they use the N-word, right? For those of you who know me and have been on my shows where I had people constantly calling in, especially these white supremacists were calling my shows and repeatedly call me the N-word over and over again. And this is again, when I talk about me being a black man and also a TI, there's a lot of racial tones to my target, and it's probably with all people of color who've experienced are in this program, that if you know it, you know that there is a racial component to a lot of this targeted when it comes to people of color being targeted, being put into this program. And we know the majority of people who the government have experimented on, who they have engaged in non-consensual human experimentation, have been on minorities, right? Black people, or so-called minorities, black people, Hispanic people, and so forth.
They're slick, but not that slick.
Okay, so that's just me talking in the video as I get past. So let's go back. So
I'll
the
fall for it.
ambulance, and you know, here's a perp, this lady there standing there. Okay, let's get to the next video. So I got the lotto ticket on my way back, and you'll see this young lady right here. You can barely see her, but she was standing on the wall, and when she sees me, she starts walking. So again, I started recording. Okay, let me so I started recording, and you see how she all of a sudden now her palm was facing towards me, but then all of a sudden now you'll see palm facing towards me, and now and look how strange she moves. Now her palms are now to the side, which is much more natural as she's walking. Okay, and there was another section. So here we're walking. We're still walking. I'm just gonna skip past some of these things. All right. So you'll see her. She'll cross the street. Okay. All right. Now the light is red, and she can cross the street at any time. Right. But I want to show you what she's gonna. Stands up, so she walks over here, right? And she's gonna stand up right there. Okay, look at her. She stands up, and as I get close to her, she turns around and walks over. Okay, now you see this. We might talk about the V, you know, trying to send you subliminal messages that they're victorious over you or what have you. You know, I mean, listen, if they have to go through all of that just to say that they're victorious over me, then, you know, they're far from it. Okay, because, you know, but again, you know, when you talk about people who have psychopathic personalities, and this program is based off of the mindset, the psychological program of a psychopath, a sociopath, that is, you may see that individual, right, or however image you have of that individual in your mind. And for me, it's it's the government, right? And so the architect of these programs, that they have this psychopathic mentality about them, because they have to, you know, tell you what it is that they're doing to you. Okay, not just do it, but to, you know, throw it in your face. You know, yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, nobody's going to help you, and a lot of it is to cause hopelessness, right? Is to prevent you from fighting back, and the more you fight back, is the harder they're going to step on your neck. Okay, until it breaks. This is what they do. Okay, and it's a good thing I have a strong neck. So she stands there, and as I approach her, she turns, and then she's going to wait on the light to go across the street. Now, like I said, she could have. The light was red while she was walking across the street. She could have went over there, but, you know, like, again, she's part of the target, and she's a perpetrator. So this is what they do. And so now, because when I was walking in the direction to go get the lotto ticket, the ambulance, you could tell the ambulance has been out there for a while. So the door was closed, and then as I'm walking back, you'll see one of the doors of the ambulance open, but there's nobody in there. Okay, and I try to lighten up the image, the video, as much as I can without, you know, overblowing a lot of the highlights and stuff like that. So that's why you see this blown out patch here. So again, having the police vehicle, the ambulance, the FDNY SUV there, and you'll see also the fire truck. Okay. There you go. Fire truck. Okay. So this guy here, remember I talked about using the color yellow, all right, to insinuate that I'm afraid or what have you. This is what they do. So they use colors, right? Because remember, colors also affects your emotions. Okay, when somebody say you're a yellow belly, they're calling you a scared person. Somebody, somebody said, "Oh, what's the matter? You feeling blue?" Meaning that you're feeling sad. So they know these things, and they use it, right? And because I've been in the graphic arts industry for a number of years, for over a decade actually, about 15, 16 years, being a retoucher, I do color correction and stuff like that. So, when we do color correction for products, they'll be like, well, make it more, they want to have like a warm tone to it, or what they will say, we want to have a cooler tone. We want to affect the mood. We want to lighten up the mood. Colors can do that. So colors are a powerful tool that they use to condition us negatively. Okay, so you have to understand this. Now, on this website, psychologicalharassment.com, there is a section in there that called positivity, in which they teach you the positive meanings of colors. And this is what I had to read over and over and over again to change that negative, emotion in which they were using, the trigger and the anchor, the dark NLP. This is what they were doing. So, because like I said, the ambulance door will close, from the time when I first got onto the corner and I went over to show you guys, and when I was walking back, I turned my head, the door was closed. But as soon as I'm walking back, they open the door. There's nobody in there. Okay, there's nobody in the ambulance. And you have people around there because they have again, it's a stage incident. It's a stage incident. Okay. So just to show you guys the resources that they will use just to target you. Okay. And again, the talk about the vehicle, the lights flashing, the hazard light, okay, and there's no reason for this person hazard light to be flashing because, it's after 7, so don't not by the car is not by a hydrant, okay, and again, this is like I said, they do this, so I love it when I'm able to capture these moments when they do these subliminal messages because they've been very careful, okay, but they've been targeting us TIs over the past few days so heavily. It's like they don't care if we got it on video or not. But again, we're talking about people in the authoritative position, so they can discredit our videos, discredit what we say, call us crazy or delusional or what have you. But this is what they do, right? And people believe them. Okay, there's no one to have a counter argument to what they're doing. Okay, because they are people in the authoritative position. It's like they can come, let's say you go see your shrink or your psychiatrist, and they label you right with one thing. You go to another psychiatrist, they label you with something different. At least you can. And again, these are private individuals. So, but if you're a TI and you go to different hospitals and speak to a psychiatrist there, they're going to give you the same diagnosis because they are trying to not make it so that you can say, well, this doctor is wrong or this psychiatrist is wrong because this one says that I'm diagnosed with this or what have you. So they have to remain consistent. Okay, that's why I forgot who said this, but it's like, who gets to question or contradict those in the psychiatric industry that are at the top, right? Like they're the standard, like the American Association of Psychiatry. You know what I'm saying? Like when they create these new labels, who is there, or is there anybody else to say no, no, that's not what it is, and you can't create this label. Okay, there's no one, so they can get to create any label or any mental illness that they want. Okay, and then from there, and again, they're working with the psychiatric, the pharmaceuticals, to create new diagnoses of mental illness or what have you, so they can market and sell new drugs. Okay, so there's a big picture here. Okay, and we as TIs, we play a part of this. Okay, and especially with the remote neural monitoring, and them profiting off of their experimentation with us, and we don't see a dime. Okay, all we get is a effed up mentality, a negative mentality, and if you're not willing or able to research and to try to truly understand what has been done and what is being done to you, they will screw up your mind. They will do it in a way that it will totally destroy your life. Okay, they will totally destroy you. Okay, so that you will have no credibility when it comes to talking about the non-consensual human experiments that have been done on you, and also the illegal microchipping of your brain. Okay, this is what they use the psychiatric field for. Okay, so I think I said enough, and like I said, I hope I explain things that's going on in my targeting. And if you feel that a lot of these things are happening to you too, take my advice. Okay, research. Don't just research directed energy weapons and stuff like that, mind control technology. Research the psychological programming. Okay, so Ian Pavlov, classical conditioning, coercive persuasion. A good book to read is Dante Jones' Mind Control Language Pattern, which talks about these dog patterns that can be used to destroy your life without leaving any trace that someone has done something to you psychologically to affect you negatively in that manner, and have you destroy your own life or your own livelihood. Okay, or even commit suicide. You gotta understand this. Okay, and that's why I focus a lot on the psychological aspect of this, because once you wake up and understand, right, and once you have a deep knowledge of these psychological programs, okay, now you can understand how, when they use the mind control technology such as the silent sound spectrum, how it is that they're able to condition you. Okay, and what you can do to minimize some of the negative effect that'll have on your mindset and your mind state, because a lot of times as TIs, we all think negatively, and it was done this way on purpose. Okay, because before being a TI, I never thought like this. Okay.